Freddy's come back.
He's the madman who messed with life and accidentally ended his own. It's William Afton, or as he's better known by, Springtrap, from the Five Nights at Freddy series. For those of you who've never heard of Springtrap, he made his first appearance in the game Five Nights at Freddy's 3, which released on PC in 2015, and was made by Christian video game creator Scott Cawthon. Now, Springtrap is by far one of the most important animatronics in the Five Nights at Freddy series. Well, technically, Springtrap isn't actually an animatronic. In order to understand more about Springtrap here, we need to dive deep into the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. Now, there is a lot of lore behind this series, and more keeps getting added every time something new is made for the series. The lore is kinda complicated though, but to summarize everything up, a man named William Afton was responsible for the deaths of multiple children at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. It's unclear as to why he did though. There are a lot of theories out there that give William Afton an explanation for murder, particularly that his youngest son was accidentally killed by one of the main animatronics, Fredbear. Regardless, William didn't account for the fact that the children's souls would go on to possess these animatronics, so he destroyed them. But all this did was just release the children's souls, allowing them to attack the man who ended their lives. So in order to hide from these ghosts, William Afton hid inside a Springlock suit. A special suit that was designed to be both an animatronic and a human mascot suit, utilizing a bunch of springs to push the animatronic's endoskeleton to the back of the suit. Unfortunately, this suit was incredibly dangerous. Because if the suit happened to get wet, the springs holding the endoskeleton would fail, causing everything to snap back into place, ultimately crushing anyone who happened to be wearing the suit. And alas, that's exactly what happened to William Afton. Within a matter of minutes, William Afton died. However, this wasn't the end for William Afton. 30 years later, Fazbear Entertainment was purchased by a small group of people and turned Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria into a horror attraction called Fazbear Frights, which was inspired by the missing children incident that took place there. After discovering William Afton's body behind a boarded up wall, they took him to Fazbear Frights, where his spirit reawakened, now known as the animatronic Springtrap. And today, Springtrap will be starting where he left off and go against the various children on the Super Smash Bros. Roster. So starting off, Springtrap here would be a pretty heavy character, and since he's in a bunny suit, he'd have 2 very high jumps and would be able to crawl, just like what he does in the ventilation system of FNAF 3. But now, let's dive into his costumes. So before I begin, I need to address something. This design would not be appropriate for Smash. It's not because it's too scary or anything, it's because it's straight up gruesome. Seriously, that is a dead human inside that thing. Super Smash Bros. Is for everyone, and this design strongly goes against the everyone 10 and up rating. If Springtrap really did join Smash, he would need a slight redesign. Something like a non-chibified version of his FNAF world design would work. Anyways, for his default appearance, he'll be in his iconic decaying yellow attire. His first alt will have him in a golden yellow suit, which references the suit when it was in mid-condition, and also a slight nod to Golden Freddy, which is very much fitting if you know the story between these two. For the second alt, Springtrap turns entirely purple, which references William Afton's appearance as the purple guy in various minigames throughout the series. For the third alt, he turns entirely light blue, which references Toy Bonnie from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. For the fourth alt, Springtrap turns pink, in reference towards Bonnet from Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. The last 3 alts will be different appearances that we see Springtrap get in the most recent games. So for his 5th alt, Springtrap becomes the computer virus known as Glitchtrap. Then for his 6th alt, his costume becomes nearly burnt off, becoming the very confusing character introduced in Five Nights at Freddy's security breach, Burntrap. And the final alt will be Springtrap. Entirely on fire? I'm not joking when I say this, but there is a real outfit in the game Five Nights at Freddy's Special Delivery called Flaming Springtrap. This directly references the fact that every time we see Springtrap, the place he's in always burns down to the ground. And despite all that, he still doesn't die. Now with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the moveset. Now some of you who've been around since the beginning of the series are probably worried about how I'm going to make this moveset, because from what I've seen with my Freddy Fazbear moveset video, you guys didn't think I emphasized the horror elements a whole lot. And looking back, I can see where you guys are coming from. So with this moveset, I will be emphasizing some of the horror elements as well as the fact that Springtrap is a killer. So starting off with the jab, it'll be a 3-hit jab that can lead into a flurry attack. The 3-hit jab will be a simple 2-punch kick. The first 2 punches will actually mimic what Purple Guy does in the Follow Me minigame of Five Nights at Freddy's 3. However, if you use the flurry attack, Springtrap will unleash a flurry of bites, which references his jump scare animation from Ultimate Custom Night. Also, just to bring this up, because I know some people will be asking, there is a small chance that any attack that utilizes a bite, you will deal a small amount of poisonous damage, referencing the toxic Springtrap costume in Five Nights at Freddy's Special Delivery. For his side tilt, Springtrap will punch diagonally downwards, acting a lot like Ryu's side tilt. However, to emphasize the killer aspect of this attack, Springtrap will wield a knife while using this move, which surprisingly references the upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's movie, where we see Springtrap, or Spring Bonnie depending on who you ask, wielding a knife in some parts of the trailers. This could also be a slight nod to the Killer Strike animation from Five Nights at Freddy's World. For his down tilt, Springtrap will do a simple hand sweep in front of himself, which mimics what you would typically see in a zombie movie where they try to grab your ankle so you can trip. And just like that, this attack has the ability of tripping foes if they were at lower percentages. For the up tilt, Springtrap will kick one of his legs upwards, just like what Snake does for his up tilt. Now for Springtrap's forward smash, Springtrap will make a tearing motion with his hands, dealing a large amount of damage and knockback. This smash attack is one of Springtrap's most deadliest, but there is some start lag and a lot of end lag. This references the fact that William Afton tore apart the animatronics in an attempt to destroy them. For his down smash, Springtrap will kick in both directions on the ground. Not only does it deal a lot of damage, but it has incredible knockback. For the up smash, Springtrap will clap his hands upwards, just like what Donkey Kong does for his up smash. However, unlike DK's, this up smash actually has 2 hits. Springtrap raising his arms counts as a sour spot, whereas the clapping is the sweet spot on this move. For his neutral air, Springtrap will extend his body, just like what a few characters already do in Smash. For his forward air, Springtrap will raise his foot from high to low, causing a spike to anyone that happen to be too close. For his back air, he'll kick backwards, again, just like what a lot of characters do in Smash. For his down air, he'll stomp downwards using both of his legs. Now, this aerial is unique because this happens to connect to an opponent. Not only will that opponent be spiked, but Springtrap can actually slightly jump off of the opponent. And finally, for the up air, Springtrap will spin his arms multiple times, dealing multiple hits of damage until the final hit. But where Springtrap makes his comeback is with his special attacks. For Springtrap's neutral special, this will be an attack that mimics the very bite of 83 itself, which I'm calling Spring Locked Jaw. For this special, Springtrap will slowly open his mouth and slowly take a single bite out of the opponent. Now, this special only works when you're holding down the special button, so if you just try to tap it, nothing will happen. While he slowly opens his jaw, he'll have incredible super armor, meaning that he can't be launched at all. However, you still take damage and can even be grabbed out of this, so please be careful. Again, the bite itself is very slow, taking about 7 seconds until the attack finishes. But there is one way you can cause it to bite quicker. If Springtrap happens to get hit by some strong attacks, Springtrap will immediately bite, dealing a large amount of damage and knockback. So in a way, this is kind of a counter attack. Not only that, but the amount of damage received to Springtrap will be returned with that bite. So if you happen to deal a total of 30% damage towards Springtrap, Springtrap will deliver that same amount of damage to you if you happen to get caught in that bite. Now for Springtrap's side special, this is another attack that mimics a few certain events over the course of the series. Primarily the VR game Help Wanted, and the most recent game, Security Breach. For this side special, Springtrap will try to grab an opponent. When Springtrap happens to grab one foe, Springtrap's hand that he used to grab glows purple and emits purple pixels. After this, Springtrap proceeds to throw the foe and causes them to get a poisonous effect. Despite that sounding lame, there is a secondary property when throwing the foe. Depending on your damage percent, you'll also get a temporary effect that lasts for about 10 seconds. If you happen to have 1 to 20% of damage when Springtrap grabbed you, you'll get a poisonous effect, slowly taking damage even after you were attacked. If you had 21 to 50% of damage, you'll get a flower effect, which quickly gives you a large amount of damage compared to the poisonous effect. If you had 51 to 140% damage, your controls get reversed, so you'll have to move right when you want to go left and vice versa. And finally, if you happen to have 141 to 150% of damage when Springtrap grabbed you, that's an automatic KO. This special is a slight nod to the corruption ability that Glitch Trap and Burn Trap had in Help Wanted and Security Breach. Now for Springtrap's down special, a phantom animatronic will appear and fly all the way to the edge of the stage. This phantom is just that. It won't deal any damage if a foe happen to be facing in the opposite direction of the Springtrap. It'll also fail when a foe happens to be shielding. However, if a foe happened to be facing Springtrap when the down special was activated, the phantom will go through the foe and disappear, causing a poisonous effect and also causing the opponent to be dizzy for a few seconds. You may be confused by this, so allow me to explain. In Five Nights at Freddy's 3, you were the security guard at Fazbear Frights, which at the time was getting everything ready for its grand opening that following week. However, because they wanted more nostalgia and less safety, the building's ventilation would tend to shut down and cause your player to hallucinate some of the various animatronics from the past few games. And just like in that game, the Phantom animatronics will have different effects towards the player. First is Phantom Freddy, who disables one of your smash attacks. Then there's Phantom Chica, who disables one of your throws. Then there's Phantom Balloon Boy, who disables one of your specials. Then there's Phantom Foxy, who disables one of your aerial attacks. And the final one to appear is Phantom Marionette, who has the ability to disable one of all of your attacks. And before you ask, I'm not including Phantom Angle. Phantom Marionette appears the least often, but if the down special is activated and you see Phantom Marionette pop out, then let's just say that'll be a lot easier for Springtrap to go in for the KO. I should also mention this, but these effects will last for about 10 seconds, and you can only have one Phantom effect at a time, so you can't actually get two Phantoms at once. You've got to wait it out. And finally, for Springtrap's up special, I have to give credit where credit's due. The up special came from a fellow subscriber, Aiden Oliver. They gave me some ideas for some attacks, but this one in particular was just so good that I had to include it. It would be a teleport. Despite that sounding simple, this is a very interesting up special. Mechanically, it works just like many teleporting moves, having them disappear before reappearing in a random spot. However, the big difference is that Springtrap will disappear behind a bunch of static, then reappear in front of a bunch of static. The reason I include the static is because it references one of the most important aspects of the Five Nights at Freddy series, security cameras. Throughout the entire series, you have to keep track of where each animatronic is at, and the only way to do that is by checking the security cameras. Sometimes when you see an animatronic on screen, the cameras will emit some static, and the next thing you know, they disappear, almost as if they teleported. And now, for the final smash. Springtrap's final smash will be Ventilation Failure. This will be a cinematic final smash that starts with Springtrap releasing all the Phantoms forwards. Anyone hit by the Phantoms will be sent into a cinematic. The cinematic starts with all the Phantoms jump scaring the opponent, which implied that the ventilation was failing to get to the building. Then, as soon as Springtrap jump scares the opponent, the camera pans out to see the entire building on fire, ending the cinematic. This final smash references the importance of the ventilation in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, as well as the true ending of the game where Fazbear Frights burns down to the ground. The stage of choice is Fazbear Frights from Five Nights at Freddy's 3. It's a simple stage that has a single layout and no walls, but there are two stage hazards that appear on this stage. The first stage hazard is occasional poisonous effects for all the players, implying that the ventilation is off. And the final stage hazard is that, periodically, the stage will have fire that can rack up damage to all the opponents, which references the fact that the same building that you're in gets burned to the ground at the end of the game. Don't worry though, for Smash it won't actually burn down to the ground, it's just a cosmetic feature. Periodically, in the background, you can hear training cassette tapes that explain the operations of the spring-lock suit and how to put it on. The cassette tapes reference the very same cassette tapes that play throughout the game when doing your nightly duties. As per usual, Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't have a whole lot of music to choose from, so a lot of these will have to be remixed. In total, 12 songs will be included, 10 of which will be remixed. And that would be if Springtrap joined Super Smash Bros. What do I even have to say about Springtrap? He's certainly one of those he'd be cool to see in Smash type of characters for sure, but he'll never ever be a part of it. Oh well, at least it was fun to make this moveset, to some capacity. Anyways, do you have a character you'd like to see be given a Smash moveset? If so, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe? That way you can get notified when I put out any Super Smash Bros. Moveset videos. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.